Sometimes these moments take your breath away, like having the FBI show up at your office, or maybe even all 4 news channels camped outside your house, waiting for you to show up. Sometimes these moments take your breath away, like having the FBI show up at your office, maybe or camped outside your house, waiting for you to touch it. Sometimes moments take your breath away, like having the FBI show up at your office, camped outside your house, waiting for you to touch it. Oh, hush. Okay, so how many entrepreneurs are in this room? Raise your hand. Wow, that's a lot of you guys, right? And as entrepreneurs, what's something that we have all in common, right? We have some setbacks. Sometimes people call these setbacks failures. Sometimes, they're moments that people say they're just too big for you to overcome. Sometimes these moments take your breath away, like having the FBI show up at your office, or maybe even all 4 news channels camped outside your house, waiting for you to show up. Okay, sometimes these moments make you cry and put you to your knees and asking for guidance. Well, guess what, guys? That was me, and it wasn't too long ago. The things that I've gone through that I hope will help you, regardless of where you are in business, know that it's okay and that you can restart wherever you are. Okay? These failure things that we call, I used to think that, wow, all I wanted to do was have successes in my career. I didn't learn a damn thing from my successes. I learned from these moments that I'll share with you that have shaped me into the person that I am today and what continues to keep me moving forward every single day. Right? You hear me talk about this a lot. If you follow me, what's up here? The mind. My journey started in 1996 in this business. I'll go over it really quickly with you guys because we've got a lot to get into. I'm not sure how you got in the industry. Everybody typically has a story, but I was cold calling. I was like an outdoor, long distance salesperson knocking on doors and happened to call on a mortgage company, and I went up to the front of the receptionist and said, "Hey, I made it a point to see Steve today." She goes, "Oh, okay, you have an appointment to see Steve. Let me go get Steve for you." So Steve walks out. "I don't have an appointment with you." I said, "No, I didn't say you had an appointment with me. I said I made it a point to see you, Steve." Really good sales training, guys. And it was really interesting. He's like, I like you. Let's go talk. I'll give you 5 minutes. So what does any good salesperson do? Reverse it. He reversed the sales cycle, changed it, and he sold me on this. You make 100 sales calls a day. How many times you get told no? And I said, if I'm lucky, 200, right? Because I'm getting told no twice because I'm trying to go back and figure all this stuff out. He's like, "No, dude, you got marketing management, finance background. This is the mortgage industry. It's easy. There's realtors going to give you business all day long. Here's some flyers. There's a bunch of offices. Good luck. See you later." And I'm like, okay. I went home, told my wife. I said, "This is the best thing ever. We're going to go out there and kill the world. It's going to be awesome. Quit your job at $18,000. Let's go all in straight commission." And I built a team, and that team led me to my first company that I started in 2001, my second company that I started in 2002, and we were off like gangbusters. We were growing, we were building. I had offices in 37 states. I have employees all over the place. We were funding loans for tens of thousands of families. I was negotiating deals with Fannie Mae, with Freddie Mac, with Ginnie Mae. We were putting things together with investors or underwriting our own type of loans. We were looking at buying a bank. I mean, it was like, bam, we were going. And I get a phone call from president of my company and says, "Hey, we had our CFO supposed to be interviewing this new COO we're hiring. She's not here. This is somebody that I hired like day one, that had worked with me for 7 days straight from 2002 to January of 2008. Family's been at my house. I know this person. I'm like, dude, it's okay. I mean, call her. I don't know. Figure it out. 20 minutes later, he calls me. He's like, I think I figured something out. We got a little bit of a problem. I need you back at the office immediately. We're missing some money. And I can't find the CFO. I get in the car. Luckily, I was only about 5 minutes away. Drove to the office, sat down, and figured out that this account that was supposed to have north of 7 digits in it was gone. Well, first I said, let's call our attorneys, right? Let's figure out what's going on. We got to figure out a strategy here. Drive over to her house. I mean, you know where she lives. Let's go drive over there. So he drove over there. I called the attorneys. He calls me. He's like, yeah, dude, the house is like dark. Guys, I reviewed financials every single week with this person. I had auditors in my office every quarter. We were pretty regulated, not as regulated as what mortgage bankers are today, but I was pretty regulated. We were buttoned up. We were looking to make an acquisition of a bank. We had an embezzlement issue. It tripped the covenants within my agreements. I notified my warehouse banks. They flew in. Board listened. 24 hours later, came back, and every single one of them, 7 banks, said, we don't know if you were involved. You're the chairman, CEO, the founder of the company. You could be involved in this. In where the real estate industry is right now, it's probably not a good thing that we continue our relationship. Let's pause and let's take it back up when everything gets figured out. I was out of business in less than 15 days. So before we got to the out of the business, of course, I'm, as a true entrepreneur, trying to figure all this stuff out. So what did I do? I got in, immediately started making phone calls, just trying to solve some things. Went home, told my lovely bride. She's like, well, hey, I knew you when you were broke. It's going to be okay. You'll be fine, right? And she goes, you know what? You're going to figure this out. You always do. You figure stuff out. This is what you do. And I remember that was the moment I was on my knees, crying, asking for guidance, because I knew I wasn't going to figure this one out. There just wasn't going to be a way for me to do it. 10 days later, company closed. I made a phone call to my pastor. I was going to deal with betrayal, lies, theft. Everybody knows that follows me, I'm all about this, the mind. I knew I had to get my mind where it needed to be. I knew I had to forgive. If I couldn't forgive at that moment when I just lost everything, I wasn't going to be able to move forward in our journey anymore. I was going to go down the rabbit hole and I'm done. I had to have forgiveness. And that forgiveness is what allowed me to move forward and face everything that I had to face. I had to face her. I spent a year and a half after the company closed trying to find her. They fled. And I had all these websites, these people blogging and talking. I had the FBI at my office that I had to deal with. My wife calls me and says, hey, probably not best you come home right now. We have all 4 news channels outside, like waiting for you to show up to interview you to find out what happened. When I was building my company, I got asked to speak at a lot of real estate events, a lot of mortgage events on how to build a company brand, how to take it from zero to the level that we took it, which was big. It was big. What I realized I was about to have to do, and it was an aha moment, was change this from company brand to personal brand and go on the offense, and I better protect it. So I got a call from a CEO of a company, said, look, you know this mortgage business better than anybody, at least in his mind. I need you to build me a mortgage company. Great. Built a mortgage company. 2014, board of directors of a big global commercial firm came to me and said, look, we invested in this second lien company that was going to be doing home improvement second liens, put about $1.5 million into it. We want you to come in as an advisor, flush everything out because we don't feel like it's trading at the level that it should, and then you can run it. 8 months later, I told them they wasted their money. It's a dog. Get rid of it. I mean, it was the right decision, but now I'm back with nothing. Jennifer came to me. Sometimes this wisdom comes through different people. Came to me and said, why don't we just go back to 1996? We had fun. Let's just go have fun again. Let's go do loans. And I fought that. I was like, I'm too big for that. I'm too good for that. I've run companies, trained loan officers. And she's like, no, you're not. You need to go be a loan officer again. You enjoyed it. That's where you had the biggest impact. Go be a loan officer. In January of 2016, guys, that wasn't very long ago, I ventured out to be a loan officer, to do loans again. I had no relationships, no realtors, no builders, no CFOs. That was probably a good thing. But I knew I didn't want to do business the exact same way that I was taught back in '96, which was, hi, my name's Bob, I'm a loan officer. Would you like to go have a cup of coffee and we can talk about my wonderful programs and my awesome interest rates and how well I communicate with you? Boring, right? It happens still today, but I wasn't going to trade that. I needed a different strategy to build my business. I moved from protecting my brand to going on the offense to build a personal brand. Okay? This internet, it's a pretty big deal, right? It's a very, very big deal. We trade attention. You have to have somebody's attention to do anything in business before you can ever make a sale. You guys have to have my attention first to tell me how good you are, how great this property is that you have listed, or how awesome this neighborhood is that you're trying to attract people to, before I'll even do anything as a potential buyer. You have to get comfortable that everything here, this is where it starts. This is where everything starts for most people, right? 93% of people start looking for a home online first. It's going to go to 99%. It's probably already at 99% for millennials. So I don't know if you're sitting here today and you really have fully embraced the power of your phone and what these little things are that plug into your phone, social media icons, what the power of those things are. But if you have not figured out how to move your business to that level, you're pretty close to being out of business. Make sure you understand something. There's a big difference between building a brand and selling on social media. There is a difference, right? I didn't set out in January of 2016 to sell anybody anything. I set out to get your attention. That's the first thing I was going to do. You had to know who I was before I could ever sell you something. So I started out to get your attention first. And that's a big point. It's really something I want you guys to understand. When you start down this personal brand journey, and this is where most people fail. They put out a video, or a blog piece or one podcast, and they stop because they didn't get anything in return. They're like, I put out these 3 videos and I got no business from it. No joke. You're not. You're not going to get business from a single piece of content that you put out. I began early on in January of 2016 with one video called The Mortgage Report. I was going to get out there and educate you guys, not consumers. I didn't have any interest at that time on the consumer side. It was about gaining your attention. Did that for 6 or 7 months, and then I said, you know what? I'm not uncomfortable enough. I got comfortable being uncomfortable. So I said, you know what? I haven't done radio. I don't want to do terrestrial radio. I'm not after the consumer. Let's just go work on internet radio. Easy way to get started, got me comfortable, really inexpensive. So I took off to internet radio, added Facebook Live. And I'm like, whoa, man, look at my engagement on Facebook Live. I had to get in and I learned that part of it. So we started out with internet radio. And then you go to 2017. And I'm like, you know what? People love this weekly mortgage tip. Let's strip that out and let's create a show on Thursday called the BobMortgage Zone. And we're just going to take that zone and we're going to make it all about mainstream media and messing with them as much as we could to show homeowners that it's easy to get into a home. So if you go down this personal brand journey, you have to get your mind right about why you're doing what it is that you're doing. If you want to sell, take out Facebook ads. I'm not talking about that. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about truly building a brand that precedes you when you walk in, that people can talk about, that they notice. I can attribute a little over, in my first year, a little over $9 million just in business from some of the social things that I was doing. My second year, I could add and attribute about $28 million of business just from the social stuff that I was doing. That's not my whole business, but that was a lot of it that was coming from my activity on social. This year, probably north of 40 that I could attribute to that. My 5-year deal was to get to over 100 million just in social activity, in business. And we're trending that way. That's the fun part. That's the measurements I look at. Sure, it's outcome, but I don't care if I miss, because I know ultimately what I'm doing is I'm impacting people's lives, I'm educating, and I know people are actually watching it, telling their client's using another lender. And people are like, do you get mad? I'm like, no, they got what they came for. That's what you have to do when you commit to educating and commit to building that brand. So we put out all these videos, we put out this live show, and let me tell you, it's a lot of work. You have to be in the right frame of mind because it doesn't make your job easier. It doesn't mean that you get to work less because now you get to build on the media side and all that fun stuff. I mean, I'm working more hours than I've ever worked before, but it's because we have a commitment to this educational side. We have a commitment to where we are today and where we're going. Today we put out a very high level of what we call macro content, which is our cornerstone pieces of content. And we put out a lot of it and we turn it into then micro content. When you get to the point where you aren't really measuring likes, negative comments, shares, when you get to that point where you really don't measure your success to that, then all of a sudden it like frees you and you have the ability to stand up and talk about the things that you truly want to talk about. You have to find how you're going to communicate that. Some people aren't going to be good at video. And that's okay. Don't necessarily put yourself in a place where you're going to fail at that. Try it, get comfortable with it, and what it may lead you to. Podcasts. Voice, audio, written word. Got your phone. go live. It's going to get more traction anyway. Facebook algorithms love Facebook Live. Or you can just record it. Get it to an editor if you don't know how to edit. You have the community, the neighborhood. You have everything that they are looking for. It's your job to establish yourself when they start looking for this online, because again, that's where they start researching where they're going to live. As this industry continues to evolve and change and disruptors come in and try to steal business from us and then potentially sell it back to us, you know what I'm talking about. It's going to be more and more important that you establish yourself as the owner of that community. You know, I do feel that the best product, the best service will always win. But again, you're going to have the attention of the client to be able to let them know that you have the best product. So, you know, I've been thinking, people ask where I'm going with all this as far as our media and strategy and everything. I get asked a lot about, would you help me do this? Hey, I love what you're doing. I love all the social stuff you put out. I love all the funnels that you create, blah, 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 right? I love all these things. And so I've been, you know, tossing it around to see if it's an opportunity for us to offer like a media company piece to people. But I want to make sure I'm 100% in a place where it doesn't jeopardize what I do every day for a living. I love being a media company that just happens to do mortgages. That's the way I think, right? It's kind of renewed my next 22 years in this space. You never get away from doing what you do every day if you truly love it and you have a passion for it. Because you're going to be in front of so many people talking about it. You cannot lose sight of that. You're going to be in the business more than you've ever been in the business because you're talking about it every single day. All right, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so very much. Have an awesome day. Thank you. Thank you.